April is always quite a good time to be able to do these forums, mostly because it means we can sort of do a full financial year update for you on the QA side of what's been going on. So we'll do that later in the session. We have a track engineering update from Network Rail. That's Reg, and I think I saw him in the lobby, so I think he's
here.
there.
Yeah, I'm here, Angie.
Yes.
I'm waving, but you can't see me, can you?
I can't see you, no.
No.
But I'll soon hand over the screen to Reg for him to be able to give you an update on what's happening in track engineering competence and training, and aspirations for ARTAS. We'll then have a quick break for anybody that's ran between invites. Be able to just grab 10 minutes to grab a coffee after Reg has spoken to us. And then after that, we will have a rail plan update from John Watt from Network Rail, who'll bring you up to date on competence and training changes that they're making in the rail plan world, and how those may affect you and any timelines associated to those projects. We'll then move on to QA updates, just to be able to bring you up to speed with how we're looking for the financial year that's just ended in terms of visit volumes and grades, progress over the last 3 years, and we'll also include a little bit of a investigation deep dive, giving you a little bit more information about recent cases and outcomes on those. And then we will move into any questions and close the forum at 4:30. And each of the presenters will say whether they're happy to take questions during their presentation or whether they would like you to wait until the end. So just ask you to go along with their wishes, and whilst they are talking, if you could stay on mute just so that we can avoid any office background noise. That's all from me, and Reg, I will hand over the screen to you.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Angie. Hi, everybody. I'll just call up my slides and see if I can manage the tech. I'm not famous for managing tech, so do bear with me. And I think if I now press present in Teams, then you'll be able to see them a little bit better. I'm pressing present in Teams and not much is happening. Bear with. Click to present. I am clicking. Right, I'll go to slideshow instead, the old-fashioned way. There we go. I hope people can see that screen. I'm the same as Angie now. I now can't see any of you, so I won't see any hands or anybody looking to interrupt. And what I'd ask is, if at all possible, if you could wait until the end of this. I've only got a handful of slides. There'll be I'm leaving plenty of time for people to ask me questions. So if you just let me get to the end of the slides, and then I can click back to whichever one you want to refer to if you've got a question about it. So so thanks very much for having me along.
Sorry, Reg, I know you've asked for waiting to the end, but you're showing
Julie.
the next slide.
Julie O'Brien, what are
I know,
you like?
I'm sorry.
Hold on a second. No, what am I
showing
like?
your view.
Yeah.
The one you want, not the one we want.
Oh, right. So. Hold on then. I told you I was no good at tech, didn't I? Right.
Thought I'd save your blushes. You can't see anything now.
Can't see anything now. Great. Well, you're really saving my blushes there, Julie. I knew you'd rescue me. Thank you ever so much. Right. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to come back. This isn't a tactic to stop any questions, by the way. This is just my hopeless IT. So my hopeless IT skills. So bear with. Here we go. I click present. Oh, this looks better. This looks more hopeful.
Perfect. Well done, Reg.
There you go, Reg.
Thank you. Terrific. Thanks, Julie. Appreciate you saving me as ever. So thanks very much for having me along. For those that haven't met me and seen me stumble through this stuff before, my name is Reg Brown. I'm Technical Capability Manager working within Technical Authority. And I'm just going to stress that I'm within Technical Authority. I'm not Network Rail Training. And I know Chris is on this call. So Chris Marzak, my colleague from training, is my chief training organizer person, my chief training colleague that I work with. So between us, we try and make things work smoothly. So I'm here really to give you the update from the technical authority competence point of view. But obviously all of that does have an impact on your good selves as trainers, training providers. So as I say, I work in the chief engineer team as part of technical authority, and my role, as I see it, is to look after the competency frameworks that support the chief engineer. So and I have two disciplines that I mainly look after, which are the track engineering discipline and also the electrification and plant frameworks, although I'm more heavily involved in track and have been for quite a while. So just to give you the main headline that I wanted to sort of update everybody on. I know, again, I have been along to this before, and I have spoken to some people about the new competence standard which will be coming out. So this is NR Level 2 TRK 011, and the first thing to point out is that it's a track standard now. It's about competence management, but it's a track owned standard. So that's the reference NR L2 TRK 011, and this will be replacing CTM 011, which I'm sure most of you will be familiar with, and that's the old competence and training standard. So this one is about competence in track engineering. It consists of 5 modules, the main standard, and then 5 supporting modules, 1 module for each of the frameworks, which I'll talk about in a minute. And this is a well overdue update. It's about 20 years since the CTM 011 was issued. And so what we're doing here is, because it's now a track standard, we're making it very much specifically about competence management, and therefore it's distinct from the standards for the design, development, delivery and assurance of training. Those are all very much in the world that both Chris and Julie inhabit. Stakeholder approval has been achieved for it, so it's been a very torturous process. It's been about 6 years in the writing, believe it or not. Me personally, I've had it for about 3 years, and in some ways that you might be aghast that it's taken that long, but I'm hoping that what that demonstrates is that it's been very carefully put together, and there's been an awful lot of people involved in it. It hasn't just been me sat in a room writing my own stuff. So we've now achieved stakeholder approval, which would open the door for it to be published. But unfortunately, because of a few little administrative glitches, I've gone and missed the deadline for June, which was the planned publication date. So it's now due for publication in September of this year. But I've had it explained to me that what I can do is go through a mechanism of publishing it in preview between June and September. So once our main standards have come out in June, I'm then allowed to sort of slip this one out quietly in preview, and it won't be formally recognised as published until September. But obviously we can start working around it and to it from as soon as I can get it out in preview. So just a little update there on that standard. And I've mentioned the 1 module per framework. For those of you who might not necessarily know all of this, there are 5 competency frameworks within track engineering, and here they all are listed: track professional, track project engineering, track engineering, non-destructive testing and welding. And for the very sharp amongst you, you'll notice that this middle framework here, which is the 3rd module, track engineering, has got the title track engineering, and my overall competence standard is called competence management for track engineering. So in order to clear up any confusion, or to avoid any confusion about what the standard is relating to, what we're going through now is a process of just updating the title of that framework to be track engineering occupational, and that just distinguishes it from the overall standard for track engineering. So back to the slide which I showed you just very quickly, you'll see there's the overall standard, competence in track engineering, and module 3 is related to competence management for the track engineering competence framework, and each of the modules will be supporting each of those frameworks. So they'll all be coming out in due course, but I'm hoping that the publication of the modules, the creation of the modules, and the publication will be a lot smoother and a lot quicker now that we will have the overall standard out there. So the aspirations that I've got that I'll be able to sort of hopefully accelerate with the publication of that standard is that what I'm trying to do overall in my role is reinforce the individual and line management accountability for competence. Without going into a massive debate, I've sort of felt that we've surrounded ourselves in a culture of tick box exercise for competence and competencies, and I'm hoping that this standard brings a sort of a refocus back to the accountabilities and the responsibilities of individuals and their line managers in the management of their competence. I'm also looking to simplify and clarify the definitions and the assessment criteria for all the individual competencies within the frameworks. So they've been developed over many years in the past, and they don't necessarily tie up with the way we operate these days. So I'm simplifying and clarifying and updating that. Also trying to reduce the competence frameworks, i.e. the number of competencies in the framework, in each of the frameworks, to make them easier to engage with. Some of them have got very big and unwieldy. Also trying to enable greater flexibility in the management of competence, which has a knock-on effect to the delivery of training and in the routes to those competencies. And then also really got a view to try and standardize more of the competencies across industry, because I feel that some of these are missing from being done consistently. So I want to try and get a few more of the competencies within the track engineering occupational framework, particularly. I want to get a few more of those standardized and assured across industry. Current focus, the main things I'm working on at the moment, day-to-day priorities. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but I thought these three things might be of the most interest to you for now, which is we're realigning the competencies for on-track machines, track geometry supervisor. These are the TR05 suite of competencies. We've got a lot of them. We've got TR05, and then we've got 8 child competencies, so it's all got a bit messy. So realigning those competencies and consolidating into those the developments in standards, and we're trying to simplify the development pathway, and obviously that will have a knock-on effect on the training offerings that are out there. So that work is currently underway, and the first module is being developed now. The first module is an overview of on-track machines and the whole aspect of restoring geometry by mechanized repair, and it's an e-learning module which also covers the principles of marking up. Please don't ask me about technicalities of marking up. I'm not a track engineer, and I'm certainly not an OTM operator. So, but that's what the e-learning offering is going to cover. And then there'll be 2, if you like, face-to-face programs following on from that. As I say, consolidating the training and realigning the competencies within the framework around OTMs. Also, a big piece of work, which I know has caused Angie and Millie an awful lot of headaches, and will continue to do so for a while, I'm assuming, which is the revision of the welding competency framework. And what we're trying to do there is provide clearer and simpler assurance across the industry, and we will be incorporating the current welding competence standard, which I believe is CTM 222. That will be incorporated into TRK 011 standard as module 5. But as I say, the work on that will eventually have a knock-on effect to the training offerings and the trainer assurance. Then the other big ticket item got on the go at the moment is sort of going back to the drawing board for our revision of early track engineering occupational competencies. So some of you will be familiar with the fact that we recently, over the past couple of years, tried to update the initial track training competencies and courses, and that would be the track induction, the industry-wide track induction, the plane line maintenance course, and then the S&C maintenance course, and the competencies that sit behind those. for various reasons, and it was a very long drawn out exercise, but for various reasons, we did not do that well. We didn't do it robustly enough. And unfortunately, it came to the point where we realized that we couldn't actually deploy what we thought we were going to. So we've taken the decision to sort of pause that and go back to the beginning and start again with a much more careful and considered approach. So we're looking at revising those early track engineering occupational competencies, and that will involve simplifying and condensing the current setup and moving more of the fundamental activities and competencies that support those to be industry wide. So in a nutshell, I'm talking about not just having track induction as industry wide, but a sort of a basic track maintenance offering also as industry wide and assured. So more on that as we go forward. But obviously that last point there is this will ultimately have a knock-on effect to the training offerings and the trainer assurance. And as I put in bold there, we really do want your involvement in this, in the development of it. Pete, if you bear with me just for a little while, if you could. Oh no, Pete, I've come to the end. Look at that. And there is the space for questions. So go ahead, Peter, because I've cut you off.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Thanks for the presentation.
Mhm.
I'm just querying the last time that you sent out the track induction module.
Mhm.
It was more about putting out emergency speed restriction rather than track induction. And that isn't something that someone new at the track would do. But see that you were saying about the track induction as a whole, we cover plain line, we cover S&C, and we cover how to maintain it, how to lift, how to fix dynamic voids, how to fix static voids, how to adjust rails, lift sleepers, dip joints, cover a wider range of actual practical side than I think a lot of people actually realise. Yeah, the test at the end is more about terminology and why we do things and stuff, but you forget the practical part of it as well, especially when someone's been delivering it for like 14 years and has got 26 experience building double slip swing nose diamond crossings and S&C and plain line, CTRL, all that sort of stuff. You're passing your knowledge on, you're passing all the wee tricks and trays that you learnt, and obviously how to use the new tools that are there for the safety of things. And I think you forget a lot about more the practical part of it and focus mainly on the theory side of things, because you've got all your TWIs and all that stuff that we go through, tell how to do it, all the tools, mechanics of it. So I don't know.
Well, what you're saying there, Pete, is exactly why we're saying this time round,
Yeah.
we want closer and more involvement from colleagues like yourself. But for me, the start point is to go back to what the actual competencies are, and say, you know, what do we want from the track induction competency, and what do we want our sort of main body of our track team workers to have as basic fundamental competencies? What are they, first of all?
I mean, like when I first started, no one told you anything. You just watched people. And then you would get hit in the shin with the first pandrel you knocked out. People would laugh, and it was like a learning process, you know what I mean? And I think it's came a really long way since then, especially now when we focus more about using the correct tool for the correct job and showing the correct techniques and all that stuff.
Absolutely,
which is really fantastic, especially for the young ones, because I've had young ones come back from doing the apprenticeship and they're like, well, I've seen someone hit the house with a hammer. I'm like, well, they shouldn't be doing that.
No, exactly right. Most definitely. And so like I say, that's why we want to sort of go. We're not going back to from scratch, but we are looking at this whole exercise in a different way. Our original exercise, which both myself and Chris inherited from people before us, was that those first 3 training courses needed sorting out and realigning and doing in a different way. And that work was underway as we landed, and it, as I say, at the end of the exercise, it became apparent that we'd not done that right, and what we'd overlooked was, are we just refreshing training courses, or are we really fundamentally considering what competencies, what capabilities do we want in our teams? So that's where we're starting this time around. We're going back to what is it that we need people to know, and what is it that we want to be. We want to have assurance of wherever people come from the industry, and whatever experience they've got, we know that they will all have those fundamentals in the same way as everybody else. So that's why you say track induction was.
I mean, track
I don't think it
induction,
covered enough to be consistent.
we cover working in cuttings, we cover working in embankments. So what's the difference? One is going to naturally hold water, so drainage is vital, regular inspection, cleaning. Embankments, we need to watch for landslips, undermining of the track. We go into all that, then devegetation. We go into all aspects of S&C, plane line, drainage. We do cover quite an extensive part of it. I think stuff we lack on verse testing, that sort of stuff. If there wasn't a track there, how do you get your radius if you do not have any like structures to get your offset? People don't teach that. You just measure it for inside of the running edge. The higher one you get, I mean, that sort of stuff. There is things missing for all that, I think, but it just depends what you want. Yeah,
exactly. And that question, what do we want, is one that we don't want to make isolated in a room, just one day off the back of a fag packet. We want to really establish. We want to really establish that and do that thoroughly and properly. And as I say, we want more than what is in the track induction to be consistent and assured, and we want to get the balance right between what we want people to have induction, so they've got an appreciation of the system that they're working on, or the infrastructure that they're walking on, and then we also will want people to have a good fundamental knowledge and skills and appreciation of those
different disciplines.
Those early, this would be the track. This would be track maintenance. We want the early track maintenance development to be consistent, as well as the track induction. See what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's all about establishing what is it we want, getting that balance right, and then developing it, rather than doing it the other way around, which is what we got caught out by last time. I see Angie's got her hand up. Sorry, Pete. I'm going to go to Angie.
It's okay.
Is that right as an answer? Yeah, sure. Cheers.
I should have unmuted myself first. You've got a question in the chat from Rob about how the providers can get involved in supporting the review and the development of the early track engineering courses.
Well, I suppose the fact that I've just broadcast it here, that would be my first step, saying that we are looking for that. When the work gets properly underway, which isn't yet, I suppose I'll put the call out through this forum, Angie, in terms of sort of establishing some workshops, either in face-to-face or online. But again, it won't just be a sort of a straightforward process of a couple of workshops and then we're done. Where I'm saying about the involvement, I would like to have conversations, good conversations with those of you that are willing to engage in this, from the training providers side, as well as really detailed conversations with the people that I'm trying to serve here, which is the teams actually doing the work, out there in the operation. So bringing that all together. So in terms of short answer to the question is, when we're ready to have some discussions and conversations, I suppose I'll sort of put it out through this forum, Angie, as
Yeah.
a request or via yourself and see what we can
Yeah.
gather. Is that all right?
Yeah, we'll facilitate that absolutely through Skills Backbone or any other communication channel that you need.
Fantastic. And that's the word I was looking for, wasn't it? Facilitate. Thank you, Angie. Yeah, cheers.
There's no other questions in the chat as yet. Is there anybody else that would like to ask Reg a question?
Blimey, got away with that one, didn't I?
Rob is thumbs up.
Rob.
He's thumbs up, happy to hear it come out through this forum, so that people can get involved, which is great.
Great stuff.
It would appear that Pete, you're the only one that was brave.
Oh, Rob's now got his hand up as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, as well as his thumb, his entire
Go
hand
ahead.
has gone up now. Go on, Rob.
Afternoon, Reg. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's nice to test both mediums, the chat and face to face. Oh yeah, just a quick question really around track handback and the work that's been done there and getting that assured. Having it on Sentinel for supply chain. I just wonder if there's been any updates on that I've not been aware of really. So.
I suppose the best update I can give you, Rob, is that we are looking to get those trainers who have already gone through the upskilling process and are ready with the full course. What we've got is a 1-day event, which will cater for the vast amount of very experienced and capable track handback engineers we've got out there. So it's about the mechanism of getting the trainers that we've already got upskilled into the 1-day thing, which I'm thinking if someone can do the 5-day course, then really it should be a sort of a day's worth of facilitated discussion and appreciation about what the 1-day version would look like, because it literally is just a pre-seed version of the 5-day course leading into the assessment. So still trying to pull that together, and I'm currently trying to establish getting both the person and the date in place to do that, but more importantly the mechanism by which we can organize that, and I have to do that in close collaboration with Chris Marzak. So we're trying to work out the financial and contractual implications of it, then the logistics of actually getting everyone together. When we've got that done, we would then be launching fully across industry, and then our next stage is to get our Network Rail trainers upskilled, because at the moment the only people we've got lined up to deliver this are a handful of your good selves. And I appreciate it's probably gone a bit quiet for those of you that waited to hear when do we go off then, but we do need this 1-day. It's not conversion and it's not a briefing. It's a 1-day facility, if you like, for those experienced people, because that's where the initial demand is going to be. There's going to be an awful lot of people need that very quickly.
Yeah, so just to some context behind my question, Reg, obviously with good work and Sarah doing at the moment around skills fade across the various portfolios, these events happened quite a while ago now. For organisations like ourselves, we deliver raising and removing speeds for Network Rail directly, and we deliver it to supply chain. So we're getting lots of questions. There's been lots of grumblings, when's it happening? So and again, just in terms of fade for our trainers, would there be any expectations before we run any assured events when we get to that stage that we've effectively managed skills fade? Would that be something the technical authority would be involved with regarding the handful of trainers that are currently assured?
Yeah, most definitely, because this is all about the capability, isn't it? If you like, the award and maintenance of capability to deliver, and we recognise here that it's us that have held this up. So not necessarily discuss this in great depth with Angie, but we will get this sorted out. That those of you that have got this ready to go, we won't say, oh, actually, we now need to do a whole load of other hoops and stuff to keep that going. My take certainly would be, you know, that the course was brought to you a long while ago. Recognise that, but nothing has changed since. And we can't say we should have delivered it 10 times in order to maintain it, because we haven't given you the mechanism to start delivering it properly yet. So I'm sure between yourself and Angie, we can work that out. Is that all right, Angie? Is that a decent answer as far as you're concerned, Angie, or have I just dropped all of us in it? Oh, you're on mute again. You're on mute again. Is that because you're telling me off using foul language?
No, that's not the usual standard, Reg. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, we're communicating to training providers on a monthly basis now through briefing notes, and we've got the skills backbone notifications. So as soon as you're ready to go with that, we'll get the word out really quickly, and help you with those organisations. And I'll look forward to discussing it more with you to see what else is in there.
See what magic solution we've all come up with. And I will take this opportunity to apologise on behalf of the technical authority for the delay in this. It's not been as smooth as we wanted to be, and it's very easy for me to say here, but I know it's a massive effect on those of you that are itching to get delivering it. So apologies that it's not gone the way we wanted to.
No, I appreciate that, Reg. Thank you for the answer. Thank you, Angie.
No, thank you, Rob. And on that bombshell, you're bang on time, Reg. Is there anybody that has any burning questions that they need to ask Reg before he goes for a quick break to gather his breath? No? Okay, thank you, Reg, very much for that update. And thank you, everybody, for the questions that you've put to Reg. Bombshell, Pete, thank you. John, I'm going to hand over to yourself to give us an update on Rail Plant.
Yeah, not a problem. So, for those, I'll just do a quick introduction to myself. For those that don't know me, there's a few people on the call that are actually supporting us on this project. I'm going to give you an update on. A few people I know on the call. But my name's John Watt. I'm one of the principal engineers in the plant team and technical authority. And for my sins, I'm also the chair of Plant CDG. I took over from Peter Stone just over a year and a bit ago. So I suppose the key thing with this, what I'm trying to do is go around as many organisations as possible just to get the message out there as to what we're doing with plant competencies. Sort of the volume of work involved, and the changes that we're looking to do, and the changes over the full control period. It is a substantial piece of work. We've got in the region of around about 170 to 190 competencies. And a lot of them haven't been looked at in well over 10 years. So although they're in a pretty decent condition, certainly the on-track plant ones, a lot of the others are going to take a lot of work to get where we want them. So I'm going to share my screen. If you would keep questions till the end, it would be appreciated. As I say, it's more to give an update as to what is actually going on. I've already briefed the ARTP, and I know I've got people on here from there. Briefed the Rail Plant Association, the M&E groups, the CDS community within Network Rail, other CDGs. So as I say, we're just trying to get around as many organisations and as many areas as we can. So as I say, we've got something called what is the CP7 Plant Competency Project. We've always been in a position where we want to update competencies, but you need money to update the competencies. So we've either got the money but no resource to then do it, or we've got resource to do it but there's no money. For the first time, Peter Stone managed to grab, or certainly apply and get some funding, where we've now got resource, a limited amount of resource, but we've got resource and the funding to do these updates. And as I say, it's something that we're looking to do over the full control period. We have had to de-scope slightly, and I'll go into that in a moment on slide 3. But the fundamentals of what we're doing is, over the whole 5 years, we're looking to review, update, fill training gaps, and originally centralisation of PTMP competencies. That's what we were looking to do. And this all fell out of a working group that I chaired around about 5 years ago with things that needed to change with plant competencies. So first slide, this was the original sort of timeline that we were looking at. And you can see there what we've done is break it down into 4 work streams. So work stream 1 was a review, an overhaul and a redesign of the actual frameworks themselves. So what you're looking at that you'd be used to seeing is the on-track plant framework, quite a complicated framework that's out there for people to use. And then we've got the PTMP framework and the OTM framework. I'll come in to cover depot, but only slightly towards the end. That's a brand new framework that we've got. The idea of workstream 1 is to look at the framework, make it simpler to use, archive competencies, identify if we can block training, try to make it easier for people to use the actual frameworks and maintain competency. Now that was farmed out under contract to a company called 3ECO. It's been ratified by CDG for both OTP and PTMP. Those frameworks aren't live until we finish doing the rewrite work at the end of CP7, because there will be changes to that depending on what we find as we go through the rewrites of the competencies. So we may end up archiving other competencies or creating other competencies as well. So that's sort of completed, but still open. We've then got workstream 2, and workstream 2 is the area that we are in at the moment. Now that workstream 2 is about rewriting the actual competencies. So doing the review, identifying what the gaps are, what needs to change, and then doing the rewrites. And we've started doing that with PTMP and OTP. Workstream 3 is about identifying any new training materials and closing any training gaps. Now, the original premise was, especially for PTMP, that we were going to be creating almost pillars of competency. So anything to do with real handling, if you like, so stress and equipment, sleeper squarers, anything like that would form a group of competencies. And to get rid of duplication, which again is one of the key drivers, is trying to make the training material as slick as possible, was to create an overarching parent competency. So you would hold PTMP core, an overarching theoretical competency for a pillar of competencies, and then the training underneath would be very specific towards the equipment. Unfortunately, we had to de-scope that element. Okay, so now what we're looking at is, rather than the parent scenario, we are looking to rewrite all of the PTMP competencies, still keep them in the pillars, but look at a block training scenario. And by doing a block training scenario, we can get rid of the duplication that is across a number of the actual competencies. So that's how we're trying to make the competencies themselves more efficient, and then more importantly updated so that they're correct. And as I said, the next part was the centralization. It became apparent when we did the working group 5 years ago that there were issues with PTMP and the standard of some PTMP training that was being delivered. And it was agreed that we would centralize the competencies once everything was updated. That has been pushed back into CP8, and that is on the basis of how we get on with the block training element for PTMP. What we're looking to do is have all plant competencies exactly the same as we do with OTP as sentinel competencies. Okay, being delivered against good standard of training material that's constantly being reviewed and updated. As I say, some of the training material that we've got at the moment hasn't been looked at in over 10 years. So you can see here, if I move to the next one, it's that work stream 4 that has been descoped at the moment and moved into CP8. And what we will probably do at CP8 is create the working group again to look at how the changes to the competencies are bedded in, and to look at the centralization of all of the competencies for PTMP. All of the OTP ones are already sentinel competencies. So very quick overview of the actual work streams. As I say, work stream 1, that was about the frameworks. Okay. If I quickly show you the frameworks, so this is, just lost it. This is what you're used to for, just an example for OTP. That's what you'll have seen. Okay. If I move to this one, this gives an example of No, that's the wrong one. Yeah. This gives an example of what the frameworks would look like once they go live. So you can see it's very much, that is actually going to be the framework. These are the supporting elements, but the framework itself is that for machine controller, crane controller, and that for machine operator, crane operator. So very much streamlined with what we're doing. Okay. Let's go back to PowerPoint. There we go. So that was the idea of workstream 1, and that's being done across OTP and PTMP. OTM I'll cover sort of separately in a moment. Workstream 2, that's about that review and rewrite. Currently, we've reviewed all competencies and identified the gaps. We have updated 7 OTP competencies. We weren't meant to start till the 1st of April, but we managed to get ahead of the game, if you like, and did the first 7 in March. And the idea is that we will slowly drip feed all of these competencies through NRT so they can be updated. For PTMP, I think they're on to competency 4 or 5. But it is a lot of work to do over the next sort of 2.5 years. Workstream 3, as I say, that's identifying any gaps. One of the things that's happening, as I say, block training rather than a primary competence for PTMP. We're looking at virtualization, and Peter started this when he was in post, of the machine controller OTP competencies. So 4 of them, such as the controller, highway permissible vehicle, material handler, excavator, things like that. Just to reinforce that, this is not just an e-learning package and that's it. You go away and do that one package. We're looking here at a 1-day e-learning package followed by a 2nd day with an instructor doing the practical elements to support the e-learning package. So it will still be most definitely a pass-fail course with an element of instructor delivery and blended learning. Okay, I'll cover off OTM now. At present, we have crane operator competencies and crane controller competencies. It's about 14 competencies in the OTM framework. We've had a request come through to remove the crane operator competencies only from Sentinel and our training platform and move them into their own CMS system. Okay, there's a number of reasons for that, but I'm busy working with the industry representatives and route services as to how we progress that and move that forward. Once we've got that decided, we'll either be updating all of the competencies or we'll be updating the crane controller competencies, which will remain in our framework. But the operator competencies would move across to their company's own CMS. And as I say, the final work stream was the centralization that's been moved across into CP8. Angie, I'll provide these slides so you can send them out. It's not a problem at all. So people can read them in their own time. You can see here the volume of work that we've got to do. So we're looking at about 90 OTP competencies. We're looking at around about 80 PTMP, 14 OTM, and the new framework is Depot. And that has just gone live this month. And it consists of around about 15 competencies. And they are specifically against Depot plant, but that's just gone business as usual this month. And we are reviewing and updating all of these competencies. So you can see it is a big, meaty chunk of work. Okay. So what have we got left to do? Or what are we envisaging? So what we've done so far, we finalised the scope of works. Okay, so we can get everything looked at. Now, the scope of works could get contracted out, but we believe NRT will be able to do most of the work, if not all. The rollout of the framework and competencies will be towards the end of CP7. The communication part is key, as I say, going out and keeping people up to date and briefing out what we're doing, where we're at, the impact it's going to have on people. And the key part to remember about the centralisation, that is coming, but that is further down the line in CP8. Okay. PTMP, again, update the secondary competencies, make sure they're looking at block training. Update all competencies for OTP and virtualization. We're looking to transfer competencies into one CMS for OTM. And as I say, the BAU for depot plant went live on the 31st of March. Okay. So other work streams that we've got going on that we're going to be looking at. So this is a rough plan for the rest of the control period. You can see here where we've identified where different areas are going to be looked at. There's one or two that are on hold, so things like centralisation of POSREP. That's because of a pilot that's been done or a trial that's been done in relation to POSREP. There's no point looking at that at the moment and continuing with that work if POSREP is going to change. Lift Planner, that started quite a long time ago, but it's been put on hold. We're still looking at modularising Lift Planner to make it more specific around equipment types. Okay, and then there's a number of other things that we're looking to do. The Slinger is another one where what we're looking to do at the moment, we have a Slinger competency that is for OTP only. If you're using a Slinger competency for PTMP and OTM, it's a competency that's awarded from an accredited body such as CPCS. What we're looking to do is to create a single Slinger competency, and that will be delivered by an external accredited body. So we would archive the one that's used for OTP. So you can see there's a number of things that are going on. Most of it's funded, but it is things that are actually happening at the moment. Other work streams, we get an awful lot of work come through in relation to competency. I'm doing a PIR at the moment, looking at OTP core and the issues that we're having with that at RailHub. We're looking to turn OTP core from a single e-learning day. It's not a competency anymore at the moment. It's a prerequisite to get on any OTP competencies. What we're looking to do to address that is turn it back into a competency and put in a second day with your WDS. So you'll do the e-learning and then you will sit with the WDS, or the WDS will then deliver the second day element of that course. Okay. We're creating other competencies at the moment. One of the things that we are looking at is updating all of the systems, so all of the systems say exactly the same information. There's a lot of discrepancies across all of the systems within NRT. And we've got other things going on, such as creating new competencies for TRT type of machines. And I just quickly wanted to show you this. A lot of people are unaware. If you go into Safety Central, hopefully this works. If you go into Safety Central, go into On-Track Plant Safety. Okay. In here, there is a section for plant competence. This is our competency information currently as it stands. Okay, it's got things like the OTP framework, routes to training for OTP and PTMP. It's all in there at the moment, and that's what we believe it looks like now. These will all get updated as we come towards the end of CP7, so they become live documents and updated documents as we move into CP8. Okay. And I think that is about it. So if there are any questions, I'm quite happy to take any questions. Pete, I know you got your hand up, mate.
Yeah.
As I say, it was just a brief update. So you're on mute, Pete.
You're on mute.
So in my understanding, all slingers that work on Outer Rails infrastructure, we follow Lola and Bright Standard Sim 121. So that's Slinger Sigler. So what you're saying is now we need to go to like CPCS and then do Slinger under the BSM 121.
So the OTP competencies, yeah, that OTP competency framework, there is already a Slinger competency in that framework.
No, I deliver it.
Yeah. What we're looking at is creating a single Slinger competency, and the review that we've done at the moment was done about 3 years ago. As I said, we start so many work streams at once, we haven't got the resource. So the idea is that we'll have a single Slinger competency, and rather than have it just for the OTP one like that, it will cover all of the different areas. Okay. And at the moment, the thought process is that we're going to be sending it to an accredited organisation.
Yeah,
that's the thought process at the moment.
Under the schematic that you done, the whole process was I had to have OTP core, or any form of machine controller, whether it be machine controller mute or machine controller whatever, and then Slinger. So is that still going to be the process, or is it just going to be Slinger?
It would still be the same, but it would just be Slinger, but you would still have to follow that process.
Right, that's all I was getting at. That's all I was
That's
getting at,
what it
mate. I was like, do you still have to hold those competencies to be a
Most
Slinger?
definitely, yeah.
Or is it just going to be like the CPCS where it's PS and 1-to-1?
No.
That's all I was wanting to know.
If you're using it for OTP, mate, it would still be the same process.
Right,
So,
okay.
most
That's all I
definitely.
wanted to know, mate. Thank you.
Not a problem, Pig. I see another hand go up. Oh, Paul.
Yep, Paul.
Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, Paul, you all right?
Not bad, not bad. The little worry I've got, as it were, with regards to machine controller going, the virtualization of machine controller. Having experienced the various e-learning modules throughout the industry, and in my opinion, the failure of some of them drastically.
Agreed.
What is the outcome of the machine controller virtualization?
What do you mean? What's the outcome?
I think it's still going to be a competence, and it's
definitely, 100%.
What I'm getting at is the material that's going to be in the e-learning part. Has got to be very, very robust with regards to machine controller.
100%.
So my next question is, if you're going to do that with machine controller, are you going to do that with crane controller?
No, not at the moment. What we're looking at the moment is the machine controller element. Obviously, the crane controller element is, if you like, the next step on from that. But
that's the worrying part.
Yeah, I get it, mate. I get it. I'll be brutally honest, Paul. We've had conversations previously. I'm not a huge fan of e-learning myself. Okay, no. Most definitely not. And I think people who know me are aware of that. And there's a number of reasons for that. And a lot of people will look at OTP core and PTMP core, but OTP core is the one that sort of causes the big problems. That should, when it was first put together, have been a 2-day course. Still, even with the e-learning, where there was a second-day delivered element to reinforce the e-learning. Unfortunately, when I took that over, we were too far down the line to introduce the second day. Okay, there wasn't the funds there to do it, so we had to carry on with the virtualization, knowing that in 2 years' time we'd end up doing a PIR, and depending on the feedback that we got, would look with the view to add in the second day where it's a delivered element to the course. What we've heard is that some people are not retaining the information by the e-learning alone. Okay, and that's why I'm looking to bring in this second day element. By bringing in that second day element, it will then turn it back into a competency and not just a prerequisite. So that is being looked at. Now, the learning from that, Peter started putting together these virtual courses for machine controller. And they are, from the top of my head, machine controller common, machine controller non-mute, and machine controller mute. 2 of them have been completed. The third one is still to be put together. Now, the key thing is that we get the right people to support putting together that e-learning, especially the second day when it comes to the delivery element. Now, I haven't even seen the 2 first day parts that have been put together yet, because I wasn't involved with it. As I say, this is a work stream I've took over from Peter. But be rest assured, if we are moving forward with it, I will make sure I've got the right people in the room to put the course together and that it's robust enough to cover everything off. And again, it will become a competency exactly the same as it is now. Okay, mate?
So my next question is going to be, right, are we going to get to see the virtualization material before it goes live?
That's the idea of getting the SME.
The reason I'm asking that is because when Peter brought in the OTP core with the videos, etc., at the end of it, it was an absolute nightmare. We were getting people through that hadn't retained the initial information, and it made it very, very hard to take them on to the next stage, i.e. machine controller, machine operator, whatever, because of the complexities of the e-learning, especially with the videos. Now, you know, I've banged on about it. Ali Fotheringham has also banged on about it, and Phil Wheatcroft. We've banged on about this for months, in fact, years, since it came in. What reassurance as a training provider are we going to get from Network Rail and from you guys that this is going to be bang on?
Well,
because we can't continue with the OTP core as it is at the moment. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Right. So that OTP core, okay, Peter didn't bring it out. I did. I was the one that put it together. Okay?
All right.
Peter.
Sorry about that then.
No, mate. People are entitled to their opinion. Peter reviewed the information that was going into there. Okay. The thing to remember with OTP core, and I've still got the list somewhere, that wasn't put together by Network Rail. That was put together by a group of industry experts. And I've still got the list somewhere. There were some people from Network Rail. Phil Wheatcroft was part of that group. There were a number of people from different parts of the industry that were involved with putting that together. A big group of SMEs. Okay. The part, as I say, that has created the problem, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like e-learning, is the fact that there's not the second day to reinforce and make sure that people who are taking the e-learning have understood it, absorbed it, and retained it, and have actually done it themselves. And that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be addressing, Paul, with this second day that we're putting in. Okay. And that's the idea with this virtualization that we're looking to do. It's not just going to be a one-day e-learning for, I don't know, machine controller MUPE. Okay, it will be the e-learning followed by a second day with a trainer to ensure that the people who have took the e-learning understand, have digested, and retained the information. And to do that, I need to make sure that I've got a group of strong SMEs with me to make sure that what is being put in there is correct. Okay, Paul?
So you're actually going to modularize machine controller then?
It's going to be those three virtualizations: machine controller MUPE, machine controller non-MUPE, and machine controller common. 2 of them are produced, 1 of them still got to be produced.
You've got me confused on that one.
If you want to speak,
non-MUPE, are we talking HPV and
yes.
360s?
Yes, but if you want to talk to me offline about it, Paul, feel free to give me a call, mate. It's probably not the right forum to go into detail.
Okay, Paul. Okay,
but feel free to give me a call.
Okay, thank you, John.
Not a problem at all, mate. Who have we got? Paul. Sorry, I was trying to see who had the hand up. My apologies.
Hello, John. I just deal basically with PTMP, and on the point you were saying about the sentinelization of it, obviously it's already started with the trolley. Will the PTMP core actually...
My apologies.
No worries. Will the PTMP core be sentinelized after that? Because at the moment, if we're not at a training centre, it can take anything up to half an hour to get the delegates to produce the evidence they've got the PTMP core.
Again, the issues that we're having with OTP core are more prevalent because obviously all of the OTP competencies are sentinel competencies. So the first thing we've got to do is deal with that one first. But once I've got it sorted with OTP core, we will then be looking at PTMP core ready for what we're looking to do with sentinelization. Most definitely what we do with OTP core will happen with PTMP core.
Thank you.
Okay, mate.
Thank you, Paul. Pete?
Hi, how's it going, John? Thanks for
Great, mate. I want Reg back.
Yeah. In my head, I think you're going to struggle, especially if you're trying to visualise and make Crane Controller into one of these e-learning.
No, not Crane Controller, mate.
No,
not Crane Controller. It's Machine Controller. Yeah, that will be the e-learning. Crane Controller will still be a delivered course. We are only looking at the machine controller elements.
Right, okay. No, it's just my worry is, you know yourself, like people don't know how to sling properly, they use the chains wrong, don't know what checks to do.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. We will not be looking to do that with Crane Control.
Right, okay.
Just in the interest of time, Pete, thank you for the question. We've got one more in the chat. Will the training providers be expected to manage the e-learning day one of the OTP core once it goes to 2 days? Currently, the sponsors deliver the OTP core.
So we are still looking at what that looks like. We've only just started moving forward with NRT. In fact, I've only just put the paperwork in the past week or so. Once I've got a better idea of what that looks like, I will come back to you. And I'm quite happy to come back to this forum and give updates. So
Really
that's
valuable
not a problem.
given the volume of questions for you,
Yeah.
John. And the last one, just before we move on, is for the OTP core, will the assessment for recertification be both an e-learning and a trainer session?
Yes. So that's the idea. So there will be, at the moment with the OTP core, and we'll just do that one, there is an end of, if you like, e-learning test exam. There is also the hazard perception, okay, which is quite a difficult part of the course. Again, what we don't know at the moment is the second day what that looks like. As I said, when you just put the paperwork in, there could be, if people have struggled with the e-learning, a second test, if you like. There may not be. I honestly cannot answer that, because until I get the SMEs together and start looking at what that second day looks like, I don't know.
No problem. Thank you, Paul. And last one, Pete, just before we let John go.
I'm about to go anyway. I've got a gig to go to. John, fruit, whatever you've got in the future, mate, if you ever need a hand or anything, just send me an email and I'll help if I can.
Honestly, mate, I'm always looking for more SMEs. We often, and it's not a thing of doing stuff in isolation. I know that used to happen. We do not do that anymore. We have representation from inside Network Rail. As I say, I think I saw Sam Smith on here. He supports us quite a lot. We've got other people on here that support us. Feel free. My email address, if anybody does want to get involved, is very, very simple. I'll put it in the chat, john.watt@networkrail.co.uk. But I will put it in the chat so people can do it. Feel free. We're always after SMEs.
No bother. Thank you, mate.
Let me pop that in the chat.
Thank you, John, for your time. That really detailed update. It's clear that everybody on the call really appreciated your time in that update, and of course there'll be more in the future. You may find yourself on the agenda for the next one.
How often do you hold these, Andrew?
It's usually around about twice a year, so at the least.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm quite happy to come every month if it's only twice a year. Not a problem at all. But in the meantime, if people have got questions, emails there. Send me an email, okay, and I'll answer.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, John. Really
Brilliant.
appreciate
Thanks
it.
again, John.
Not a problem. Take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. I'll drop off Angie if that's all right.
Yeah, no problem, John. Thank you again.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay, thank you for your input there. It's obviously an area that affects all of you, or most of you. It's a big area of competence that they're looking at, and we will make sure that we make more time for John to be able to give frequent updates to you all in this forum, or by other means also. So please let us know by Freshdesk if you find something additional and valuable for us to be able to provide that to you. So John's piece has run over quite a little bit, so but you are going to get this, these slides in this recording, and the slides that Reg has used and the slides that John has used out after the forum, as we usually do. So you'll be able to digest a little bit more some of the information when it gets sent out to you. But as I said at the start of the meeting, it's always quite a good time to have these meetings, because we've finished the financial year and we're able to share with you where we are in terms of gradings and sort of what the headlines have been from the financial year that's just ended. And I think the key thing really, there's two sort of key messages that I would like you to take away from this, which is looking at the year of progress over the last 3 years in rules and standards and in quality improvement and in premises. You can see that continuous improvement has continued to happen. That's absolute testimony to yourselves, your commitment to quality assurance and the relationship that you have with your QAMs. So thank you for that. The new framework is established, and the indications are it's continuing to support that upward trend, and we anticipate that it will continue to do that as it embeds itself. I think one of the key things is we really need your feedback. We don't get feedback that often from the assurance visits that have taken place. So we've updated all of our documentation to make that QR code more visible. So you'll find that when you get communications from your QAMs on planning assurance visits and throughout the assurance visit process, that QR code will be present on the communications and more documentation. So please, please, please do spare us the time to give us that feedback, especially now that the new system has gone in. And of course, FreshDesk is always open to you should you just wish to use that method rather than the formal feedback tool. So please do use that. Feedback being received is a little bit more information on investigations. Last year we tended to focus a little bit more on quality assurance, how we were delivering in that area. So I've put together a little bit more information for you in the investigation space, because it has been quite a while. So just looking over the last 3 years, you can see that in general terms, suspensions are less of a thing as an RTAS outcome, and we've spent a lot of dedicated work last year to be able to bring volumes down, and there's been reduced frequency of new cases also that you can see in comparison to the year before, which has also helped us to be able to do that for older cases. And we've now reached a stage that financial year ended that we've got investigation volumes down to their lowest since 2020. So that's quite an achievement. We have had 3 new cases opened in 2026 to date, which is kind of on par as to where we were with the last financial year. Around about April, I think we also had 3 new cases. So I'm anticipating that the volumes will hopefully come down again for this financial year, and you can see that we've closed out a significant volume of cases versus what we were able to do in the year before, and we've at the end of the financial year, we ended with just 8 ongoing cases. In addition to that, we've had the 4 additional reports that were made that have had detailed fact-finding put onto them. And those particular reports have been managed in terms of that detailed fact-find stage, which means that there hasn't been the grounds to actually continue to a full investigation. One of the key areas of feedback that we've received is sharing that detail with you effectively over what types of allegations we receive and how they correspond to outcomes. So I've taken the opportunity for this forum to be able to share with you the cases that have resulted in sort of the highest sanctions, if you like, so suspension and permanent bans and formal warnings. But I've also left in action plans so that you can see the types of cases and the previous cases that have gone to that, and also share with you that unfortunately where there has had to be a suspension as an RTAS outcome of a case, share with you the durations that those suspensions had been set at. It's just to give you more information really as to the nature of cases and where they have resulted in suspensions and how long they are for. Now, some of it can be a little bit on this slide, can be confusing, so it's just to draw your attention to where there are 3 pieces of information that have the same outcomes associated to them, that means that it's the same parties that have been involved in that. It's just been 3 separate cases. And obviously when there are more cases associated to a provider or to a trainer and assessor, then that's considered under the fair culture and also in the ARTAS outcomes themselves. So these slides will come out, so you've got more time to be able to digest the detail in there. But it is obviously an area that's been of keen interest that we've not really updated yet at a detailed level for quite some time now. You can see that on the elements of formal warnings, those have become more frequent in terms of whether the case actually warranted a full suspension or whether a warning for, the sort of first nature of case involving individual parties as to whether an immediate suspension is actually required in accordance with the ARTAS outcomes, or whether a formal warning of such could be used as a way to try and reduce any future recurrence, if you like, of a particular area. So I've tried to give you a little bit of a whistle-top tour there. I don't intend to read every single element of it, but it is providing you with the more detailed information that we haven't provided for a while now. And please take the time to be able to digest those for you. Also wanted to share just 2 more things with you, which is to share with you how much work we've been doing with Network Rail and in collaboration with yourselves to be able to try and move forward with valuable information and valuable frameworks to try and make your roles easier and make it more logical to be able to handle a reducing supply and demand, so that trainers and assessors can maintain capabilities, etc. So you'll all be aware that that the Rules and Standards Quality Assurance Framework and the changes to the reports have been completed. They're now implemented. So those of you that have received assurance visits, you will be seeing that in action now. And I hope it's welcome, but please do use the feedback so that we can really ascertain how successful that change to a new system is, and where there may still be work to do. So please do share that with us. The new quality improvement framework that replaces the quality assurance framework that Barry Smith, as the head of skills, is leading with his QA managers, Nigel Barry and Nigel, Stephen and Dean, apologies. That is now preparing implementation, and there'll be further communication specifically from Barry and the team about how that's progressing, how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, etc. Okay, so just to let you know, it's preparing implementation, and there will be more communications and contact with you around that space. The skills fade mentor handling criteria, I also hope that that was welcome, that we've been able to deliver that for you in collaboration with Network Rail to give a more hands-on approach for track safety and OTP and OTM providers. We still do, NSAR still does the rulebook materials update, changes to the materials. There hasn't been any rulebook updates in June 2026 that have impacted the materials, so there hasn't been any technical changes, but Network Rail has taken advantage of that time with the technical working group to be able to review updated key point cards. So you should see that starting to be published soon. As I alluded to earlier, we're now doing monthly QA briefings to try and keep you updated more often as to frequently asked questions that we get answered and particular issues that may need resolved that we're taking forward from your feedback and from your contact with us on your behalf with Network Rail. The RTAS Rules version 3 working group has now been established, and there's been 4 sessions in relation to that, which is actually an overhaul of training assurance standards from Network Rails 202, internal quality assurance for their suppliers for things that are not within RTAS themselves, and also incorporating RTAS Rules version 3. So that working group is ongoing, and we anticipate that we're working to quite tight timescales for that. We will obviously give you more information as and when we have an anticipated publication date. But we're involved in the competence development group as members also in track safety, welding, track engineering and rail plant. So that's a frequent opportunity that we have to be able to take issues or concerns forward to the CDG for their consideration. The track safety competence standard implementation support, we all know that that remains ongoing, and there has been increased communications in that area, and the post-implementation review of the standard itself is now nearing its completion. NSAR and various industry trainers and assessors and providers are also involved in that to make sure that that the areas that needed to be improved or changed are actually taken forward. So that's an industry group, and we hope that that's going to reach its publication towards the end of the year, but we don't have anything confirmed as to the date of publication yet. SMTH will affect a small volume of you, but and our newest providers on the call today very much affects you guys. The programme went live on the 10th of March, so the onboarding as such is completed, and we are still working with providers, trainers and assessors on the premises aspect and feeding into the programme. So we still have an avenue into the programme. Welding and track engineering onboarding, you've had an update from Reg earlier, and the welding process has been amended. You should have seen that application and communication come out. If you need any support or guidance on that, then please contact us on Freshdesk. And as you've heard John say, that the rail plant changes have been updated to you, and we will make sure that you continue to get regular updates on that throughout training provider forums and briefing notes, etc. John's very engaged with us, and we'll continue to make sure that you have that opportunity to access the most current information. Last headline from NSAR effectively is just to share some headlines from you on industry training and assessor study. We've recently undergone some data analysis to be able to look at how the demographics for industry trainers and assessors have actually changed since we published our first report. I do apologise, trainer volumes 2025 to 2026 is what that volume should be. I'll make sure that's corrected before the slides are issued. So we're looking at the scope of that study is what the trainer volumes are like, what the disciplines that be delivered and where are the skills gaps shown that they are now, and remaining age demographics, which is something that you hear ourselves and other industry partners talk about on a regular basis. And you can see there that since our last publication, the retirement profile for the training community still remains a bit of a concern, and there's still quite high numbers reaching the age of retirement as soon to be lost from the industry during the next 3 years. So that's our headlines for that volume at the moment. You're doing lots of work in bringing new trainers into the field, and we'll continue to monitor how that affects the overall demographics and if we can actually increase and backfill into those areas that the older ages that begin to retire, lucky them, and how their retirement from the industry impacts the overall trainer volumes available. So I do realise that's a whistle stop tour. I didn't really want to cut John off because it was a large piece of engagement there for him. We're 3 minutes behind schedule, but there's a couple of hands there, so I'm more than happy to take those questions. I think Paul is first.
Hi, Angie. How are you?
I'm very well, Paul. How are you?
Oh, not bad, not bad. Looking forward to retirement, I must admit.
You're one of the lucky ones then.
Yes, I like that last slide, actually. It was very good, very enlightening. However, it does raise a very, very big concern of mine. You've known me for a long, long time, and my attitude will never, ever change. I'm sorry about that. But what is the industry doing about upskilling current trainers?
Well, there's been a large influx of new trainers coming in. So in terms of actually preparing new trainers to come into the space, and we were always slightly aware that the upskilling needed to happen in 2 phases, so that new trainers came in to sort of look after the not the lower levels of competence, but the entry levels of competence, such as PTS, track induction, etc. Because all of the valuable and very, very experienced resources were actually delivering those entry level courses, and we needed to fill that space to then be able to increase the capability that is much higher up. As you're aware, Paul, there is a conflict within the RTAS rules for the actual speed of development and the speed of upskilling that we've been able to push through. That absolutely is one of the prime aims of RTAS 3, to be able to look at what the upskilling process is. So people are trying very hard, and we are facilitating as much as we can through dispensations, etc. So the only reassurance I can give you really, Paul, is that the changes that will be made into RTAS 3 will absolutely have upskilling as an area that needs to be made easier for people to be able to achieve. And that work is now underway, at least the working groups are established. So whilst it might be longer than what we wanted and what Network Rail wanted for that to go live, it's absolutely one of the driving reasons as to why RTAS 3 needed to happen, and we'll push it forward.
What's the timescales for RTAS 3, Angie?
Well, at the moment, it is within an overall overhaul of all training assurance standards. So at the moment, we are actually looking at doing a first draft of RTAS 3 to be able to have further review on within the next 6 to 8 weeks. And then it will be looking at working group review. So they've got quite aggressive timescales on it, so because we know it's a priority, but I don't have a publication date for it, Paul, so I can't commit to that.
Okay, that's
We're
fine. Thanks,
aiming-
Angie, for that.
Sorry, it's Julie from from
Julie,
the Quality
hi.
Assurance team. So yes, Angie is very right. We're very aggressive on the timescales. We're trying to create a standard in record time. So you can imagine that you know, we're coming up with some areas we need to get better at. But we are hoping to have it done before the end of the year.
Well, there you
That
go,
helps.
Paul. Okay.
Is the
Sam?
standard going to go to
sorry,
consultation?
You mean industry consultation?
Yes.
It will, yes.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to that one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No problem. Sam? I think it's the last hands up that we've got.
Hi, Angie. It was just following on from the last question, really. That last slide was really interesting. I know you've got the data on age demographics, but have you got that in reference to capabilities as well? I think
Yes.
it'd be really interesting to see sort of what areas are we going to potentially lose, and where do we really need to focus upskilling on to sort of close those gaps. I think it'd be great if we could get that.
We've got the raw data to be able to start analysing that and pulling that together, so that is part of the core data that we're going to be looking at. So that's why the headline scope of that study is for the actual volumes, age demographics, and also disciplines delivers and what those skills gaps look like.
That'd be great.
Right,
Thank
everyone,
you.
thank you for your time. I've one and need to go. I'm going to see Prodigy, so enjoy. Thanks again for your time, Angie. Ciao.
Angie, you've gone on mute.
How did I do that? I don't even think I clicked the button, so I do apologise. Okay, apologies, we've run over a little bit. I hope you found today valuable. We will obviously do our usual, put this onto our YouTube channel, let you know when it's being put onto it so that you can review it again, and also make sure that you have the slides from the presentations, not just from the NSAR content but from the Network Rail content as well. I can't thank you enough for the volume of people that attended, especially given the issues that we had in getting out a live link to you. So thank you for your commitment to the forum, and look out for future dates, and we will get it all out to you in writing. Anything that comes up that you want to ask from today, then please do ask us by Freshdesk or myself directly. Okay, I will end it there. Thank you again for your time. Bye everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
Angie.
you. Bye.
Thanks, Angie.
You're welcome. Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye-bye.